Fish Baby Daddy here, going over another tank I got set up with the Gymnogeophagus Balzani's. And I want to show you this one. It's a 29 gallon. And let's get to it. Got a little reflection from the other tanks, but this is the setup for the 29 gallon Gymnogeophagus Balzanii tank. I have one super red in here. He's a little smaller, super red bushy nose pleco. And he's hiding, but really what you can see here is got a little bit of lava rock, got a lot of Java moss in here, got some wood. You can see some Java moss is actually binding to the wood, and on top you can see that all of that plant life that's shooting down some roots, that is some Amazon frog bit. I really like having plants in there as much as possible so it can help absorb any excess waste, kind of regulate the water, so we actually have good high quality water. It acts as extra great filtration. I'll try to film a little bit of the Balzani's when they come out. Might have to pull away a little bit. Sometimes they get a little shy because normally I'm not this close. Oh, there he is. He's coming out. There's one little guy. He's like, what are you doing? Look at that guy. Now that one in the back that just popped his head out in the back, she's the female. And she likes to hold her fry in her mouth. You can see a little bit of this sand that's actually popped up. And they're creating like a little bit of a mountain there in the front. And there's a male, he's just sitting there. What they'll do is they'll actually move all that sand so they can get to that glass bottom. And what they'll do is they'll try to the female will lay eggs, and the male will actually fertilize the eggs on that glass bottom. And then what she'll do is she'll collect the eggs again in her mouth, and then she'll actually hold them in her mouth until those fry are pretty well large so that she can actually then release them. So I'm always looking for her mouth. I'm looking to see if she's got like, the best analogy I can give you is if you got someone that's got like a ton of grapes they have stuffed in their cheeks. And that's what she looks like when she's got a lot of fry. That male's coming out now trying to go, what's going on here? What are you doing? I like to feed these guys some high quality pellets. I feed them like smaller high protein pellets, and I'll actually feed them smaller ones and larger ones. Kind of switch it up a little bit. I feed them once a day. I'll do a 50% water change, and I'll try to keep once a week, and I'll try to keep the TDS around 100 to 120. So the water's relatively soft. I do not have a heater in here. My apartment's usually set at about 76 degrees. So that's how they're usually a colder water fish. They respond well to colder water. They don't really, they can tolerate, if you put a heater in there at 80 degrees, but if you read up on them, they actually will tell you that they actually like a cold season, and they'll actually go down into the 60s sometimes with their water. But I'm going to keep them at just room temperature. I don't have a chiller or anything, so I don't want to get into all of that. And I'm just going to keep it at, in the mid 70s. I got one filter that's set up in the upper right-hand corner. You can barely see it with a pre-filter sponge. I think it's an Aqua Clear 70. Try to give them plenty of hiding spaces so they feel confident they can come out. And just like that, they go away. So here you can see from the top down, you can see the Amazon frog bit a little bit better. To the right, you can see there's a little bit of egg crate that I actually put on there. And that's to actually just give it a little bit of a lid near the filter. So the egg crate is actually sprayed with Kryolan Fusion spray paint. It's non-toxic to the fish. And you can see that filter that I have right there is an Aqua Clear 70. And that's a top-down view. Got the light on a timer. We usually run it it's a Higher light, it's a simple light. I just run it for about 8-9 hours. You can see a little bit here from the angle in the back. There's a rock, that lava rock. They like sitting back there. They feel a little more protected back there. I want them to come out when they feel comfortable, and I want them to be able to feel as comfortable as possible. So from a breeding standpoint, they're going to be prepared to have as many fry as they want. but I try to give them a lot of room to actually just sift through the sand. I want them to actually be comfortable with sifting through the sand, not having too much in the tank, because they are sand sifters. And that's what they naturally do. That's probably why their mouths are pointed down. Over time, in that left-hand corner, that male will develop like a dome on top of his head, especially when the female's around. And it's actually a breeding characteristic of the Gymnogeophagus balzanii. Zoomed in a little bit. You're gonna see a little bit of algae on the glass. I'm gonna leave that for the bristle nodes I have in there. If it gets too out of control, I'll use a sponge to clean it up. I want to zoom in just a little bit so you can kind of see them a little bit more. If they haven't already laid their eggs, it looks like they're getting ready to, because he's kind of moving all that sand out of the way. So I have that flat surface, that glass bottom, to make sure that they're ready to actually breed. They're moving over just a little bit. And there she is, so they're going back and forth. So tonight might be the night. Anytime you have rain, that barometric pressure is going to actually stimulate some type of spawning. So when it really starts to rain outside, it's a good time to do a water change. They'll actually stimulate spawning for them, because they can sense the barometric pressure changing. Why, hello there. Males have a tendency to have some more speckles, and they'll have a little more of a dome on their head, where the females will be a little duller, won't show as much, and their head won't have a dome at all. So the less color, the more likely you're gonna have a female. If there's any kind of coloration at all, you're gonna probably start seeing it to be a male. You'll know that they'll actually start getting into like a breeding mode is when they start getting darker in color. And that tells you that something is about to go down. Reflection. That's a little better. Just bring it a little bit heavy because I think the male's chasing her around. Underneath her gills is when you're really going to see a lot of movement when they have fry. Again, I want to pull back and just kind of just observe the whole tank itself. Lots of green, got a little bit of wood. The sand actually acts as a nice bed for beneficial bacteria as well. It'll actually gobble up some detritus on its own, the bacteria in the sand, and so you can just stir it up once in a while. But because they're sand sifters, they do such a great job of actually kind of taking care of a lot of that with the plants that I have in there. It kind of acts as a self-cleaning system. I don't have that many fish in here, so it doesn't mean it's going to produce a lot of waste. But again, 50% water changes every single week. Lights on timers. I put a little potassium in the water so I can actually help that Amazon frog bit grow and stay healthy. In this tank, I have 2 males and 1 female. For right now, they get along pretty good, even when she has fry, but I'll always keep an eye on it. When you get them smaller, it's really hard to tell the difference between male and female, and it's not until when they get a little bit larger, they start displaying some type of mating ritual or some type of mating behavior, you're like, you don't really realize what you got. But at least I got 1 female. And they're overall a very peaceful fish. So I don't have to worry about having too many problems with them. It means they're gonna play nice with each other. something I wanted to show you guys real quick. If you don't have a stand or you don't have room, but you want to get a tank set up and you want to keep it off the ground, especially if you're trying to do water changes, what I did here is I put I got a 2x4 and I cut it, and then what I did was I made it a square, sprayed it with cryo infusion paint, and then I just was able to make that as like a frame around the entire tank. And that actually gave me a good lift off the ground. So when I went to go do water changes, it's a nice way to kind of pull it off the ground without having to spend a whole lot of money. So just an idea, just put a 2x4 as a frame, and then just letting the tank sit on that. Obviously you gotta screw it or nail it, however you wanna do it, and then spray paint it, and it doesn't look too bad off the floor. Well, that about wraps it up for this 29-gallon Gymnogeophagus Balzanii tank. Hopefully I get a lot of fry on here, and hopefully you got something out of it. Until next time, Fish Baby Daddy.